Friends, welcome to Biology Made Easy. We are discussing the different aspects of water pollution, and out of this water pollution, today we'll discuss two very important things. One is eutrophication and the other is biomagnification. So we'll start with eutrophication. So what is eutrophication? Eutrophication means excessive enrichment of some water body so that the algal and aquatic plant grows excessively. That means excessive enrichment of nutrients leading to excessive growth of aquatic plants. So ultimately this excessive growth of the aquatic plants, which is due to addition of more nutrients to it, and the nutrients are mostly the phosphates and nitrates. So when there is addition of more nutrients, there is more algal growth, more aquatic plant growth, which ultimately leads to the aging of the water body. That means it leads to aging of the water body. And the just opposite word to that of this eutrophic is oligotrophic. Oligotrophic means there is less amount of nutrients in the water body, so that the growth of the plants is less, just opposite. So this eutrophication, it is can take place in two different ways. One, it may be natural or it may be accelerated. We'll discuss both types. So first we'll discuss the natural eutrophication. Now the natural eutrophication is a very slow process. It is a slow process, and it is so slow that one cannot see in one's lifetime. One cannot see in his lifetime because it is very slow. So suppose let us take any water body. Suppose let us take a lake. So suppose this is the land mass, and here the water body is there. Here the water body is there. This is the water body. This is the land, and this is the water body. So in this water body, when it is present initially, the water here is quite clear and it is very cold, so that some fishes and aquatic plants, they survive. Now if some waste materials will be added, what will happen? And one important thing is where from this waste material is coming. Suppose the waste materials is coming suppose through any forest land. The forest land doesn't contain much no nitrates and phosphates. That is why if this stream coming through this forest land, if it will fall on this lake, then the eutrophication will not take place because it is not rich in nitrates and phosphates. That means it will not give rise to the excessive growth of the aquatic plants. Now let us take a second case. Suppose it comes through urban areas. The urban areas, they are rich in phosphates and nitrates, because the soil contains fertilizers and fertilizers and different types of pesticides. So it will enrich. But if it will come through some agricultural land, if this stream will come through agricultural land and will fall in that suppose lake, then it is highly rich. It is highly rich in phosphates and nitrates. And why it is? Because this agricultural land, it contains different types of fertilizers, then other nutrients. So all these things, they will simply come out along with the run of water, and it will be added. That means now the lake will be enriched with the phosphates and nutrients, which will give rise to the growth of different aquatic plants along with the algae and aquatic plants. So initially the water which was very clear and cool, now there will be growth of blue-green algae. There will be growth of blue-green algae, that is BGA, or we can call it also one type of this cyanobacteria. Now it will grow here. On the surface it will go. And due to this, initially there was very less amount of this algae. But when these phosphates and nutrients are added to it, now there will be excessive growth of this algae, and it will give rise to a algal bloom. Algal bloom. That means the surface of water will be covered by algal bloom, and now it will impart a distinct color to the water body. That means it will impart, the algal bloom will impart a distinct color. It will impart a distinct color to the water. That means the color of this lake will be completely changed. Now below this water bloom, there is a bed of other algae. So the bed of other algae which are present below it. Now suppose I am drawing it in red color. So those other algae which forms a bed below this algal bloom, now they will not get sufficient amount of light and oxygen. So as a result, what will happen? Now this below the algal bloom, those algae which are present, they will ultimately they will die. And the other aquatic animals like fishes, they will also be suffocated, because these algal bloom, they will use sufficient amount of dissolved oxygen. They will use sufficient amount of dissolved oxygen. As a result of which the fishes will not get sufficient amount of oxygen, so the fishes will die. This algal bed which lies below the algal bloom, they will die, and it will create certain harmful substances, and that water becomes polluted, and that is also harmful to human beings, including other aquatic organisms. As a result, what will happen now? Now, these algae and the fishes, they will die due to lack of oxygen. And those plants which are present below, they will also not get sufficient amount of oxygen. As a result, now this will become it will become the shallow. Now that means it will be shallow. Due to deposition of debris, now it will be shallow. And to add to this O, another thing happens. You have heard the name of this water hyacinth. Water hyacinth. It is also known as terror of Bengal. And the botanical name is Iconia crassipes. Now this plant also grows luxuriantly on the surface of this lakes, ponds, or any water body, because this plant is not native to India. It is an exotic plant. It is an exotic plant, but its flowers are mauve colored. The flowers are mauve colored and very attractive. Side by side, the growth of the entire plant is very attractive. That is why this exotic plant was brought to India for the ornamental purpose. But when it got sufficient amount of phosphates and nitrates, this plant grew very luxuriantly, and it covered the entire water bodies, ponds, lakes, and all those where any water is there. And it ultimately the plants, the other aquatic plants and animals which were present in that water body, they are suffocated and they died. And when people try to remove this plant, it is more difficult to remove them. It takes more time to remove these plants with the speed with which they grow. That is the problem. That means they grow so rapidly that it becomes very difficult to remove these plants also. And these plants are known as the terror of Bengal, or also known as water hyacinth. It is a fruiting plant. So when all these plants will grow and ultimately they will not get sufficient amount of oxygen, so ultimately all of them will be deposited at the bottom, and gradually it will become shallower and shallower. Then gradually the depth of this water body will decrease, and ultimately it will give rise to certain marsh plants. It will give rise to marsh plants having roots. Side by side, there will be also certain fruiting plants here. So when there will be certain fruiting plants and marsh plants, ultimately the water body or the lake, which was very clear, having cold water, and some animals and plants are surviving that, now the condition of this water body changes. Now the color of water body changes. It has a distinct color. Then gradually the water becomes warm, and ultimately in this shallow water, certain animals, certain fishes which can survive in warm water, and the plants which can grow in warm water, they grow, replacing the older ones which survive in clear and cold water. So in thousands of years, it is found that ultimately the entire water body is full of with these plants and filled with land. That means the water body is gone. So how much time it will take, that depends upon the size of the lake and the type of effluents that are added to it. That depends. And usually in the natural case, it may take thousands of years. That is why one cannot see in its own lifetime. This is the natural one. But what is the accelerated? The second one is accelerated, or that is we can tell that is man-made. So the second one is known as cultural or accelerated eutrophication. So in case of cultural or accelerated eutrophication, what happens? The human being, it releases all the domestic sewage, municipal sewage, and industrial effluents to the nearby water bodies. That means the domestic waste, which contain different types of organic substances, then the municipal sewage, and the industrial waste, all these things are released to the water bodies. So these things, the domestic waste, municipal sewage and industrial waste, they contain sufficient amount of nitrates and phosphates, as a result of which quickly there is a quick eutrophication, enrichment. As a result, the eutrophication is accelerated. It becomes faster and faster. That means instead of thousands of years taking place in the natural case, here in few years, the entire water body can be filled up. And it has been found that in the last century, in the world, several lakes have been converted to land in the entire world. It is because of this eutrophication. Because whatever there is a domestic waste or municipal sewage or industrial effluent, just to release it to the nearby water body, whether it may be river, lake or pond, anything. So this is known as eutrophication, and these are the two types. One is natural, the other is accelerated eutrophication. Then let us discuss the second aspect of this water pollution, that is biomagnification.